Hey guys, we call this TexAgs Rewind, where we take you back to some of the best clips of the show here, and it is presented by T-Mobile. As my grammar or my voice cracks a little bit, T-Mobile has been bringing this show for a long time, and they tell you to visit T-Mobile.com/acrossamerica to learn more how you can get value and coverage through T-Mobile. All right, so on the show today on TexAgs Radio, we had Gary Blair Court at Reed Arena. I had to talk about that there to open up the show. Pumped up for Coach Gary Blair out there. Andrew Monaco came by studio, talked some baseball with him. We talked some basketball with him, and we obviously talked some football with the voice of the Aggies. Aggie baseball season predictions out there. We had our roundtable. Bronny, Scott Clendenin, and Richard Zane all in here for that hour. It was great. And, of course, Billy Liucci on every topic ever, especially when he can make fun of people. It's TexAgs Rewind.
But more significantly in women's basketball news, we have a video actually of a generous A&M donor, Wayne Roberts and Ross Bjork, presenting to Gary Blair on February 24th. That beautiful floor inside Reed Arena will forever have the name Gary Blair Court. Texas A&M Athletics announced Thursday that the Reed Arena Court will be named in honor of national champion and Hall of Fame women's basketball coach Gary Blair upon approval from the A&M System Board of Regents Thursday afternoon. So this generous donation from Wayne Roberts, class of '85, and the approval of the Board of Regents, Reed Arena's court will officially be named Gary Blair Court with a pregame ceremony on February 24th when A&M faces off against South Carolina.
Well-deserved.
Super exciting for Gary Blair.
Did we know this was in the works? I didn't know about this.
I didn't know this was in the works.
This is awesome.
I saw it. I was in class yesterday, actually working on a project, and my phone buzzed. I got a press release. Gary Blair Court. It's like, that's
awesome.
It's a no-brainer, right? Like,
yeah.
He is the legend. He is the greatest basketball coach in Texas A&M history, men's or women's, with all due respect to Shelby Metcalf, who Gary passed this year as the all-time winningest basketball coach in program history. So I don't think there's anyone more deserving of an honor like Gary Blair. I mean, he will become just the third women's basketball coach to have the court named after him, joining the late Pat Summitt and Gay Yao. I would assume that Gino Auriemma will have his name on a court in Connecticut at some point as well. But just a tremendous honor for Gary Blair. And, I mean, the honors continue to come we're less than a week from his final home game at Reed Arena. And it's starting to get a little emotional. And I don't know what he's feeling, but I'm sure that was something he greatly appreciated. That it is super cool to see, and I can't wait to see it.
But just that attention to detail for them. And I go back to every win that they've had, and even every loss. Everybody contributes. But if you take out one performance by an Aggie on Tuesday night, they don't win. Yeah. And that's everything from Andre Gordon, not just the bucket, David, but a simple entry pass late in that game that he steals. He had 4 steals. He had 7 rebounds. All those performances, what Javonte Brown did, how great was that? 6.7 rebounds in 20 minutes. He really came through in that role. Manny Obaski scores 3. Think about after the timeout, after the 2 technical fouls, John Thornton clued me in on this. They run a play out of bounds that we've not seen this year. Simple inbound, Wade Taylor, the 4th, and then all of a sudden Hassan Diarra is screaming up the right side. You find him, threads the needle, there's a bucket. In a 1-point game, that's a layup. That's 2 points. That's what I like, and that's what I like watching about this team. Everybody contributes to their victories.
One of the things that Buzz said was this team never lost focus, never lost hope. They weren't pointing fingers. How was Buzz during this whole thing?
I've always said this about Buzz. He empties the tank every game. But when you look, even in the losses where they didn't play particularly well, he is still there fighting for his team on that sideline. And in the games where it was 1 or 2 possessions, still fighting. When the lead to Florida is being whittled away, you see Buzz right there. They know that he cares. I've said this. I think trust is a big word in sports. We'll use it for this team. I think Buzz trusts this team and each of the student athletes in the roles that they now have. And I think these players trust that Buzz is going to put them in a position to succeed.
There's some people who are listening right now that have not been paying attention to these additions, right? We mentioned Micah Dallas, but there are some names that are coming here that have some cachet. Kind of help us understand some of those names of what they can bring, if you want to start, Scott.
Well, I'm going to steal thunder and say Jack Moss. I mean, this is a guy that had a tremendous freshman season. He was their highest recruited player, when he was into a top-notch program at Arizona State, which has a long tradition of hitting. And he went in there right away and established himself. I'm expecting big things from him. And I also think he's a guy that, I understand they played altitude. I understand that he's a West Coast guy. I think that he's going to take to, some March and April and May baseball at Bluebell Park. And, maybe even Sunday when the wind turns around a little bit. You're going to have a pitcher's do the first couple of days, but I like his ability to have a high exit velocity. That's one of the great things about being out there and having the metrics up there on the board during practices, as we've seen some of these guys, and you're like, hey, that's a plus guy that's accelerating a very good pitch, into the field and having some big hits.
The guy I'm going to talk about is Dylan Rock, and it's a kid coming in from UTSA that is just a fantastic college baseball player. And Dylan Rock ate up TCU when Schlossnagle was there, and he dominated and killed LSU when Nolan Cain was there. And so when his name popped up in the transfer portal, it was like that.
Let's go.
Both of those guys wanted to go out and get him just because of how well he had played against them in the past. And I thought as good as Jack Moss was in the batter's box in the fall, Dylan Rock may have been their best hitter. And Dylan Rock's going to be right in the middle of whatever they've got going on offensively all year. And he's going to play left field. He'll DH some. You could see him in the 4-hole. I think he's versatile enough to hit in the 1-hole if you wanted to.
That's a brilliant prediction.
What?
Putting him in the 1-hole.
Oh, is that what you did?
Yes.
But he's got so much versatility, and there's a lot of sock in the bat. The dude eats weights for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. He'll put you to shame, Nuno.
I'm sure. I'm 45. I'm old.
Well, don't use age as an excuse. But I'm really looking forward to seeing him in the batter's box in the middle of this order.
Zahner?
Troy Claunch. I mean, he comes over. He was the first-team All-Pac-12 catcher last year. He was on the team in 2018 as a freshman that won the national championship, experience behind Adley Rutschman, who was the number 1 overall pick a couple of years ago. And everything I've heard about him since he's gotten here has been incredible. Schlossnagle and Gojieski rave about his ability to work with the pitching staff. And I think that you need a guy like that behind the plate, and also he's a captain in the locker room. He's going to wear number 12 because he represents the core values of this university so well. It's hard not to get excited about a guy like Troy Claunch, who has Michael Barish kind of vibes about him.
We had some breaking news. It looks like college football playoffs are going to remain exactly at 4 teams through the 2026 season, so we won't see that expansion. And reading some of the tweets out there, basically they just want to keep the TV rights the way they are, not have to redo anything, and then afterwards they will look at expanding it to what could be 12 teams at that point.
And that's not shocking. It's disappointing that they can't get there sooner. Writing was on the wall when the ACC commissioner came out and took his stance a month or so ago. There's going to be a lot of crying and hand-wringing. It ruins college football. To be honest, David, I want to see A&M make the 4-team playoff. So that's from a selfish standpoint. I want to see A&M make the damn 4-team playoff. I don't want it to be where they make it into the 12-team playoff. And before that thing gets bastardized a little bit, I want to see A&M crack that 4-team field, because we saw 2 years ago it's not easy. It ain't easy at all. We saw that in 2012, where if A&M could have just, they were that close against LSU. They were that close against Florida. They beat Bama. Guess what? They still didn't make it in. There is part of the 4-team playoff that I like. 12, I feel like it's too many to me. Anyway, I do believe it's going to go from 4 to 12, but I think 8 would be a much better number. I stand firm on the 5 Power 5 champions, and even that gets a little shaky to me. And why not just do the 8 like you do the 4? But if you want to do the 5 Power 5 champs and go 3 at large, then more often than not, a Cincinnati, a UCF, they weren't going to probably be left out of an 8-team playoff. If they're that good, they'll be in there. If you're the 9th team and the argument is between 9 and 8 and you don't get in, you don't really have much of an argument. You should have been better than 8th. So I would prefer 8 teams, and they select them just like they select them now. And the big debate will be seeding, and it'll be who's number 9, who's going to cry the most because they're 9th. Well, you're trying to be first. You had all season to get higher than 9th. If you're not higher than 9th, then you don't need to bitch about it. But that's not the way it's going to be. It'll end up being 12. They'll try to placate everyone. It'll be good for the SEC. It'll probably be good for A&M. It'll get more teams in. I would love 8 selected exactly as they select 4. I don't think that's even remotely a remote possibility. I think it's going from 4 to 12. And I do like the way they do 4. I don't think this has been, it's not going to kill college football for it to stay that way right now. There are much bigger things, that are hurting college football right now than the playoffs sticking to 4 teams. Although with that said, I would like to see it expand. Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for watching this week. I want to remind you to like, subscribe, comment, share, all the stuff you're supposed to do when you watch these videos. If you don't, I don't know. You don't. Thank you.